Thank you so much for joining me here at the Real ResQ podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. This episode is going to be brought to us by Collins Aerospace. As the industry faces new challenges and embraces new technologies, Collins is collaborating and innovating with their customers to bring big ideas to life. And together, they are redefining the future of aerospace. Check them out today at collinsaerospace.com. And Switlik Survival Products. Switlik is known worldwide as a manufacturer of the highest quality sewn and heated sealed safety and survival products for aviation, marine, and military markets. Check them out today at switlik.com. Now, coming up next in this episode, we're joined by a woman who was in the United States Coast Guard, and she has some wonderful stories to tell. Additionally, she's doing some great things in her life right now. She's written a book, she's a life coach, and she's just inspiring people all over. I'm super pumped for her. I want to throw an additional shout out for her because in our episode, we actually talk about something where she had some troubles while she was in the United States Coast Guard. And the reason I want to say that is because I've had my own troubles. Such is life. That's the way things go. And what I want to say to anybody who's going through troubles, it's not what you're going through right now. It's how you get through it and how you make yourself better on the other side. And that is exactly what she has done. She has gone above and beyond, and the stuff that she's accomplished since that day have been incredible. My hat's off to you, girl. So please welcome our next guest, Miss Ashlee Leppert. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ. Today, I've got a guest, which I'm wicked excited for. She is a prior Coast Guard flight mech. And right now, it's prior because she's out of the Guard right now. And at the moment, you are you're a keynote speaker, you're an author, and you're a life coach. Are you kidding me? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Ashlee Leppert. That's her maiden name. Now, Ashlee Albright. Did I get that right?
Woo! What's up, Jason?
Okay, good.
I'm glad we've been finally able to connect. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. I know it's been like months in the works to make this happen. And then we had like holiday season, and then we had this season, and now we're here. I'm loving it. Loving it. So thank you for joining me. I'm psyched for this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Pressure makes diamonds, baby. This is about to be a 100, top 100. Let's go.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Look at life coaching already. I'm excited. That's awesome. Well, what's going to be great is we actually get an opportunity here on like quite a few rescues that you had throughout your time in the Coast Guard. And what's cool about this to me is that it wasn't even that long because you said you were in the Coast Guard for 14 years.
Yep, 14 years before I medically retired in 2019.
Dang. And in 14 years, right now, off the top of my head, we're going to talk about like 6 of your rescues that you had while you were a flight mechanic. Like, yes, please. I'm freaking stoked. But before we do that, let's get into a little bit of who Ashlee is. So, Ashlee, where are you from? What brought you to the Coast Guard and then aviation?
Right on. So yeah, I'm from suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. So my heart's still a little sore from this last recent NFL playoff season. So bear with me there. But
I was pulling for your team as well, and I'm a diehard Patriot fan, just so you know. But I was pulling for them.
Wasn't it rough? Oh gosh. But yeah, anyways, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Throughout my high school and junior high career, I loved being on the swim team. So I've always had an innate passion for just being in the water. And so right as I got out of high school, like most high school people, we don't know what the heck we're going to do with our lives. And I had a buddy who was in the Coast Guard, and he kept telling me, man, I'm flying around Clearwater, Florida, man, and I'm saving lives. And I was like, that sounds rad. Like, I want to do that. So also at the same time, like that's kind of the positive reason I wanted to join the Coast Guard. And then also, just before I joined the Coast Guard, I had a buddy of mine, one of my best friends from high school, Nash. He actually died in a boating accident, which was kind of, it was
Oh,
really
dude,
hard
I'm
for me
sorry.
just going through that whole thing, my very first kind of big loss in my life. So it was kind of a couple culmination of his passing and my buddy telling me he's saving lives. And I was like, I want to do that mission. So a few short months later, I was in boot camp, and here we are today.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm sorry to hear that you lost your friend. That's not fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was pretty terrible, but I hope that I've made him proud by, sort of honoring his life throughout my Coast Guard career and saving people that are in sort of similar situations. So
that's cool. Yeah, wow, you really went like the extra mile there to the extra 8 mile. Oh, come
I
on,
see what you
Detroit.
did there.
I-
Don't make me start rapping some Eminem. I'll embarrass all of us
oh
here.
snap! Come on. Oh, that's hilarious.
My palms are sweaty.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
not funny. Fail.
That was great. What are you talking about? That's as good as mine. That. Oh, I love it. I love it. Dude, Ashley, that's fantastic. All right, so you after boot camp, you ended up going to what was your first unit prior? Because I mean, most of us have to go to some sort of a unit before we get into aviation. So where'd you go?
So I kind of hopped around a little bit there. So right out of boot camp, my first station was a non-rate in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Terrible, let me tell you, being on
Oh
the
my
beach.
God.
I mean, it was
San
rough.
Puerto Rico.
Dude, it was actually amazing. So that was my first 2 years. Did my airman program in Borinquen. So my first
Oh, nice.
helicopter flight was like all over the island of Puerto Rico, and I was like, I am sold. I'm doing this. So went to A school and had some issues. I was struggling there and got a DUI. That was before it
Oh,
was like one and done thing. I know. Yeah, so got a DUI, got sent to a small boat station in St. Inigos, Maryland. Really worked hard to kind of repair my reputation and just try to, get back to the aviation field, which is what I joined for. And so after some hard work and a lot of repairs to not only my Coast Guard community, but to society, I was able to go back onto the A school list and I graduated as an avionics electrical technician in 2009 and then was sent to my first aviation unit at Selfridge, right outside of Detroit, Michigan.
dang, girl. So,
Yeah.
props. Well done. Like you hear and see a lot of people, and I'm being general, but they hit a road bump and they do something that like throws them a bad way, and some people come out of it and some people don't. Well done. Way to pull through
Thank
that
you.
one.
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
was I appreciate that. And, a lot of people were like, wow, we thought you were going to get out and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I made a mistake. We all make mistakes. It's what you do after the mistake that I believe truly defines you. And I was able to say, you know what? I screwed up. I'm human, but that's not who I am. I'm a hard worker. I love my job and I love serving this country. And I'm going to do what it takes to make it right. And I did lots of money and lots of time, but here I am and I'm able to, share that as hopefully inspiration to other people.
Dang. Good for you. Wow. Man, I could probably stay on this for a little while. Like I'm not going to, but I could. Because I mean I had my road bumps and issues in the Coast Guard and outside of the Coast Guard. And man, it's what you do after. Everybody's got something. There's always a skeleton in somebody's closet. And if there's not, they're lying. Or at least I think so.
I think so too. Yeah, we all have some demons, man. That's for sure.
Yeah. Man, actually, good for you. That's freaking badass. Yeah, way to pull on top of that one. Good for you.
Thank you.
Solid.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah, heck yeah.
appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right, so you get through, you bust your butt, you bring your name back up, you get back to school, you get through school. Congratulations. Boom. You are now an AET. By the way, for everybody, like AET, Aviation Electronic Technician. All right, so now you're working on wires and helicopter components and the FADAC and let's see, what else is in there? The radar and what else? I don't even remember what else
Bless
you guys
bless
had
your
to do.
heart, AST. Let me help you out there. um, No, so
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Thank
pretty
you.
much the way I explain it is, anything that has to do with navigations and communication. So avionics, we're in charge of making sure that all the instruments, the ADI, the CDU, a bunch of acronyms there, make sure all the black boxes are working properly, the wires are connected, so that way the pilots can go out and safely fly the missions. So yeah, basically anything that has a wire connected to it or a black box, I was in charge of maintaining, troubleshooting, and just keeping on top of my game there.
Right on. So it's funny you say that AST, like aviation survival technician. So when we would get deployed and go out, we always had all right. So as a little an acronym or a not code, AKA, also known as a tweet. Like if you were an AET in the Coast Guard, an electronics technician for aviation, you were known as a tweet. And we would always carry around the tweet in a can. Oh, it was like high pressure alcohol, something or other. Just spray out the ends of all the cannon plugs. Oh, plug it back in. Oh, we're good to go. Tweet can. Yeah. Look at me. I can be a tweet
Oh,
too. You're welcome.
yeah, see, look, all of us carried the tweet in a can. No shame there, man. Like, there's so many times that tweet in a can has got me out of a grounding situation or getting home safe situation. So, hey, I ain't mad at
I'm
it.
in. I'm in. I'm in. Oh, that's funny. I like it. Which is really kind of cool because actually one of your rescues, which we're going to get into, actually played a huge component into all your navigation and everything that you were doing. So, but before we get into that one, I gotta ask: do you remember your very first? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know you remember your first rescue because holy cow, it was written in an award like or end of tour award, and I was like, what? So hold on. Before you get into it, I get to start with this one. This is great. So here's what it says. Letter of Commendation. I know with pride if it pleased to commend you of your performance and duty while serving as Aeronautical Engineering Department at Coast Guard Air Station Detroit from November 2009 to June 2015. As an aircrew member, you had an impressive resume of accomplishments that included 550 flight hours, 4 lives saved, 8 lives assisted, and 5 deployments. During your 2010 Caribbean deployment aboard Coast Guard cutter Tahoma, you played a vital role locating 6 adrift Cuban nationals, interdicting 1 go fast vessel, and saving over 100 Haitian immigrants. Aboard the cutter, you further volunteered to assist shipmates with migrant care and interviewing personnel and distributing food rations. Always ready to serve, you supported 4 national special security events as part of a deployable rotary wing air intercept team. And your service guaranteed the safety and security of the U.S. and international diplomats alike. A positive role model for all. You were an active member in the Women in Aviation Symposium during the 2014 Selfridge Air Show. You showcased your talents as a flight mechanic and Coast Guardsmen and other Department of Defense aviators and members of the local community. Your contributions to the avionics electrical technician shop were equally noteworthy. You served as a procurement representative and submitted more than $500,000 worth of purchase requests, ensuring critical supplies were always available to fill the maintenance demands. You also found great success running the unit's searchlight, night vision goggles, data marker buoy, and aircraft battery programs. Finally, your dedication to community outreach was commendable. Your involvement in a 21 star based tour and high school jobs fair positively projected the Coast Guard to the local community and had a lasting impact on more than 400 local youth. You are commended for your outstanding performance of duty. By your meritorious service, you have upheld the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Well done. So that was the end of tour award, which then has to bring us back to, wait a minute, let me read this. 6 adrift Cuban nationals and 1 GoFab boat and saving over 100 Haitian immigrants? Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and I was not even a flight mech at that point. I was just newly basic air crewman qualified, believe it or not. So yeah, it was a
So
pretty
just
rad
running
career
radios?
starting from the beginning. Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So let me touch on this too, which is kind of unique. when I got stationed into Detroit in Selfridge, it's because my father was actually sick. He got really sick and he was actually dying at this point. And
Oh,
so I got
oh, dang.
stationed. I had the opportunity outside of A school to choose Detroit as my number one, being that I was pretty. I think I was middle of the barrel in the A school class. But anyway, so I got stationed, tried to be close to my father during his, unfortunate illness. So right before this deployment, he passes away in April, and excuse me, in June. I apologize. In June, he passes away, and it
I'm
was kind of
sorry.
a rough summer. So thank you. Yeah, it was really hard, but I was grateful I was able to spend that time with them. But I say all of that to say, come December, when they're looking for people to volunteer for deployment, I was like, I'll go. I didn't really want to be there with the holidays and around Christmas with my father just passing. And, I wanted to give an opportunity for our married military members with their family and stuff to be there on Christmas. So I volunteered for this deployment as a brand new basic air crewman. Like, I'm talking brand spanking new. So when I went down there, I was just like, holy crap, like, this is what this is about. Like, it was just like one thing after another, then a drug interdiction, and I saw these guys throwing bales of cocaine overboard, like, on my night vision goggles. And just like, as a brand new air crewman, I was like, this is the best job on the planet. And it really helped
That's
me to kind of, like, sort of escape from the reality of, just losing my father and stuff, and being able to go out there and decompress and do the mission. And it was awesome.
wow. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, you gotta bring us in. 6 people afloat. Were they all separate? I imagine they were all separate, like call outs off the boat. So you're living on the boat. Aircraft is parked on the flight deck in the back, and you guys are flying every other day, every day, every 2 days. What's going on?
Yeah, so sort of for the listeners that really don't know the logistics. So basically, when they send an AVDET, you're an aircraft detachment to a back of a cutter. So we ferried an aircraft down from Detroit all the way, through Miami. We did our outbrief. We get down to Guantanamo Bay, and we're parked, and we're waiting for the coordinates to go out and live on the boat for the next couple months. And so we're on the back of this cutter. And myself and another person, we take turns every day doing sorties, flying around, different missions, whether it be search and rescue, drug interdiction, migrant operations. I mean, we're kind of jack of all trades, master at none, right? So yeah, it was just about every single time it was my turn to go out as the flight person to go do the mission. There would be something always taking place, whether it be the go fast. So my very first night, we're out there, and I'm pretty sure I see, a boat, and I think we're in coordination with the boat, the cutter, telling us, yeah, check out this, object. And so, anyways, long story short, we find this
Oh, don't do
boat,
that,
and
Ginny.
I'm
Wait,
like,
wait, wait, wait. You don't have to go long story short. You can make a long story long here. This is how we roll. I want to hear
that's
all the
true.
details. Come on, girl. Don't cut me
Fair
short.
enough, fair enough. So I'm like brand new in the aircraft, brand new on, night vision. I have my qual, but like operationally new, if you will. And so, yeah, man, like, we're zoned in. These guys are like hanging over the engine, because they think that we're going to shoot out the boat, but they don't know that we don't have, a gunner on board. But I'm like watching everything take place in my night vision goggles. They're throwing bales of cocaine overboard. We're like, mark, 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 mark. Like, we're marking everything out there. And so basically, what happens after that, once we have them, honed in, we know their position. That's when the cutter releases their small boat to do like a water interdiction. And that whole thing took place. We arrested them. And yeah, that was kind of the end of that. But that was like night number like 3, and I was like, this is so crazy already.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So where
Yes.
did the 6 immigrants or the 6 Cubans come into play that you guys found?
So yeah, then like a couple days later, I think this was
Couple
actually
days
towards
later.
the end
I
of our
love
deployment.
it.
So in between the drug interdiction, and in between the saving of the Cubans, there was a massive migrant operation, and we ended up coming across, I think it was like 1 or 2 Yolas, which a Yola is, a big fashioned boat that the Haitians use to kind of just get from point A to point B, wherever that may be. And so there was about 100 Haitians that we interdicted, who were trying to get to, I believe, the Bahamas. And so, yeah, we have to offload all of these people onto the flight deck, which means that we can't have an aircraft on the flight deck. So we didn't have enough weight to bring the aircraft and all the crew members back to Guantanamo Bay. So we kind of did a toss up, and I was the one that was stuck back behind on the boat with the Haitians to kind of help out and do, the in processing and the interview. Meanwhile, the rest of my crew, I mean, they had to fly back and do maintenance. So it wasn't like they were just going to go hang out on the beach or something. So,
Right. Uh-huh.
or so they
That's
say.
that. I think that's what I would have said too. No, we have maintenance to do here.
For sure. Hey, I ain't mad
You're
at him. I
float
was
better.
ready just to do all the cool stuff. Like, sign me up for all the cool stuff. Yeah,
I
so they
like it.
went
I
back
like it.
and I stayed behind and just kind of passed out the rice and beans, did the interviews, kind of did security patrols and things like that. So that was kind of cool to see that end of it, because usually in aviation, we're doing the mission portion. And once that's done, we're like, okay, we're flying back to home base. But that was our home base. So I got to see kind of the cutter behind the scenes operation of the migrant operation. So yeah,
Wow.
so
Right
then
on.
that happened and that was wild. And then once we were able to offload them back, we took them back to Haiti. And then towards the end of our deployment is when I was again out there doing a sortie, and came across the boat, in which, we kind of did a slow and low around him to kind of inspect it. And they were six Cuban migrants, and they had actually been adrift for such a long period of time that this was like a life or death, rescue. So yeah, and some of them are considered, interdictions and things like that. Like, this was life saved because they were pretty much on their death boat, if you will. So yeah, it was pretty wild. And I was not qualified as a flight mechanic yet. So I saw them, we marked the position, and then we called, I think they took me back to the boat, and then the flight mechanic was able to come on board and obviously airlift them, to safety. But it was cool that I was the one that found him anyway, so that's kind of rad.
Dang. Oh, that's awesome. Well done. Little eagle eye. Look at you. That's awesome. That's one heck of like a first go after being qualified. Holy dude, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
Well
why I'm
done,
like, I
girl.
used to tell all the brand new airmen, I was like, dude, volunteer for everything. Like, everything that I've ever volunteered for, deployment, TDY, or whatever, has always had some sort of magnificent, like, rescue, or, something cool happens. And I was like, dude, this is what you signed up for. Like, don't say no. You say hell yes to everything. Get out there, man. Do it.
Say yes to everything. I love it. I've had a couple people come on here that says like, "Oh yeah, I'll take that," and it turns into something amazing. I'm with you. Volunteer. Yeah, yeah. Go have a good time. Make the best out of it. Next thing you know, you got badass stories like this. I mean, seriously. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
for sure. And me saying yes to these missions, I was able to save lives, help people stranded. I met two presidents, like,
what?
this is like, yeah, this is just from volunteering and saying, send me, put me in, coach.
Oh, do tell. How? What? You met two of our presidents?
Yeah. So, believe it was 2016. I volunteered for a rotary wing RWAI deployment out to Hawaii. This was when President Obama was our president, and was out there doing secret squirrel, avionics code loading stuff out there. And it was for President Obama's air security and stuff. So we would fly with Secret Service and just patrol the area, et cetera, et cetera. And at the very end, they put everybody's name into a hat, and they're like, all right, we're going to send a couple of you guys out there to actually go, meet President Obama and take a picture. And I was like, pick me, pick me, pick me, come on. So to get to shake the hand of a sitting president, like, dude, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So
That's cool.
they pulled my name. It was me and another of our flight mechs that I was with, and we got to go out and shake his hand, take a picture, and it was a very, very proud moment for sure.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we're gonna need to see a picture of that picture. Yeah, we're gonna need to see that. That's
You
pretty
got
neat.
it. You got it.
Okay, okay. It might be up right here, right now, like right dead center screen. That's what you're gonna see. Okay,
Yep,
I'm
I
so
got you.
excited.
I will send it. I will send it. And then yeah, I got to
Yes.
meet President Trump at the I was his honored guest at the 2018 State of the Union address from the Hurricane Harvey rescues in 2017. So yeah,
No
which is
way.
yeah, it was I mean, dude, and like, let's just be honest, like, the pilots and the rescue swimmers love y'all, but you guys usually get all the like, oh man, look at
True.
the pilot, look at the swimmer. And the flight mechanics
True.
were like, dude, we're making sure the whole evolution happens, man. And so it was super cool to like be there and represent our Coast Guard flight mechanics and just sit there and, you know, we're kind of the forgotten branch. So hopefully I bring a little awareness and a little bit of joy to the good old USCG, baby.
Over the last year, we have made incredible progress and achieved extraordinary success. We have faced challenges we expected and others we could never have imagined. We have shared in the heights of victory and the pains of hardship. We have endured floods and fires and storms. But through it all, we have seen the beauty of America's soul and the steel in America's spine. Each test has forged new American heroes to remind us who we are and show us what we can be. We saw the volunteers of the Cajun Navy racing to the rescue with their fishing boats to save people in the aftermath of a totally devastating hurricane. We saw strangers shielding strangers from a hail of gunfire on the Las Vegas Strip. We heard tales of Americans like Coast Guard Petty Officer Ashlee Leppert, who is here tonight in the gallery with Melania. Ashlee was aboard one of the first helicopters on the scene in Houston during the Hurricane Harvey. Through 18 hours of wind and rain, Ashlee braved live power lines and deep water to help save more than 40 lives. Ashlee, we all thank you. Thank you very much.
Dude, way to represent. Sick.
Thank you. Yeah, it was super
That's super
rad,
cool.
man. It's just such a big blessing, and that's why I decided to share my story because I'm like, there's no way that this has happened by chance. Like, I've got to go out there and that's why I wrote my book, because not a lot of people know about Coast Guard aviation. So at the very least, if someone just understands a little bit more about the mission and what we do, then like, right on, I did my job, you know?
Dang, that's cool. That is so cool. And the fact you mentioned Harvey, so we're gonna get into Harvey. That's gonna be a little bit later. But let me get into one that right now, because you earned yourself a letter of accommodation on really, this is your first search and rescue case as an operational flight mech. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So yeah, I was on nights for like the first, I don't know, maybe 2 years of my career. So, and for those of you that are listening, when you're on nights, you're really not operationally flying. You're pretty much heavy maintenance team. So I did that in the first couple of years of my career. So that's why I didn't have a lot of flying hours and all that. But as soon as I was back on day shift, right before I transferred out of there, I had my first like rad mission where we just saved 2 people, and it was just it kind of is like the moment that makes all the crappy days like, okay, those were worth it to do this right here.
Well, I'm excited to hear about this because we talked about a little bit in the beginning, and that is that the AETs, you guys are running all the aircraft electronics, the GPS, your radars, and everything. And there was an issue in this flight. So let me read this and then let's get into the backstory. So here's what it says. Letter of commendation. I note with pride and am pleased to commend you of your performance of duty while serving as flight mechanic aboard Coast Guard helicopter 6534 on 3 July 2014. After receiving a report of an overdue vessel with 2 persons in the water, you and your crew of the rescue helicopter departed Coast Guard Air Station Detroit and proceeded directly to Lake Erie. Shortly after takeoff, however, the Coast Guard helicopter suffered multiple global positioning system malfunctions. Displaying great resourcefulness, you immediately programmed the data and commenced search points into the flight mechanic GPS, providing accurate time, distance, and heading information to the aircraft commander and co pilot. Arriving on scene, your crew immediately spotted two survivors clinging to an overturned 17-foot pleasure craft, which was floundering in 5 to 8 foot seas. Displaying superb initiative, you wasted little time readying the cabin while the pilots executed the approach checklist. Exhibiting sound professional judgment, you coordinated with the rescue swimmer on the desired rescue plan, taking into account the high wind and sea state. Expertly conning the aircraft in position, you effectively deployed the rescue swimmer, then rapidly prepared the cabin for a basket recovery of the survivor. Maintaining an exemplary calm and composed demeanor, you recovered two elderly survivors who were twice your size in the cabin. After efficiently recovering the rescue swimmer, you secured the cabin and transferred the two survivors to the local airport, saving 2 lives. You're commended for your outstanding performance of duty. By your meritorious service, you have upheld the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Hoorah!
I love
Dang,
that
girl.
last sentence. I love that
Oh.
last sentence. It just ties it all together with a little bow, you know?
It's so exciting. So exciting. So 2 people like on board, both flipped upside down. You guys get launched out. GPS fails. Oh my gosh. Run us through it. So how did you get, were you on duty at the time? Was it your duty night or was it?
Yeah, it was actually, I always like tear up when I hear these back. Like, I'm not trying to be like an emotional woman or anything, but like, dude, like, I just get so stoked on the fact that like, dude, people are alive today. It's just so overwhelming to me. Like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
I like it.
It actually, so I was on duty, and this was in the morning. So we did our overnight shift. It was a pretty quiet night. We got up and ready. We were actually getting prepared to do our early morning flight. We usually have an off-going flight as the rescue crew. And had my coffee. It was kind of like a perfect storm for like, all right, I'm ready to go fly. I'm all caffeined up, and all of a sudden the SAR alarm goes off, and we hop in and we're freaking rolling. We got the position, and it was kind of perfect because I'll be honest with you, full disclosure, I'll pause for a second and share. So I feel like most avionics or maybe even mechs, they really prefer the fixing of the aircraft, or they prefer the flying of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I loved fixing the aircraft, but hands down, I was a flyer. I felt the most confident and comfortable when I was just in charge of the operations of that helicopter. That was my baby, and I felt the best in there. Not so much like troubleshooting an AFCS, like not my favorite. So being an avionics tech was like at times like really hard for me. The conceptual nature of troubleshooting something unseen with wiring diagram, that was hard for me at times, I'm not gonna lie. But flying, dude, it was like every single time I felt the most confident and comfortable out there. So with that being said, like, we were on the mission, we had the coordinates in, we had our waypoints in, we were ready to roll. And as you stated in the award write-up, the GPS system for our overall like helicopter function like just went, and everything was like shot down. We had like a major navigational error there. So just without thinking, I was like, well, let me go ahead and plug everything back here in our flight mech GPS that was right in front of us in the back seat there. So just kind of plugged it in, kept our pilot on correct positioning, and kind of, helping him get, correct his direction if he was going off chart or whatever. So I kind of just didn't wing it, but I was like, all right, I'm going to use what I have here, and let's just try to get to from point A to point B. And sure enough, like, we're just coming up, and like, boom, we see the 2 gentlemen in the water with the boat, like right in front of us. And this was after, I want to say, probably about 30 to 40 minute flight. So for that entire time, I was just kind of navigating them with my little GPS in the back, and then boom, God is so good, man. These 2 dudes were right there, and I was like, let's get them. And so I lowered my rescue swimmer, and he assessed the situation, and there was one larger gentleman and one older gentleman that was a little bit smaller. So we put the smaller gentleman in first. I helped him out of the basket. And then we put the larger gentleman in second, which, I mean, clutch move there. It's like those key decisions that you make as a team, your rescue swimmer and flight mech, like, because again, had the roles been reversed and it was the larger gentleman in the cabin first, that may have taken more time and more energy and effort to get him out of the basket for the second recovery. So
Yeah.
it's those little decisions that really make the evolution fast and responsive to get everybody to the hospital in time. So it was beautiful. It was an amazing experience. Two lives saved. Took him to the I think it was a hospital, I want to say in Ohio, somewhere right there outside of Lake Erie. But yeah, dropped him off at the hospital, and like, man, like just an awesome, rescue, really.
Oh my gosh. Well done. Well done to you and your crew. Man, that's great. The fact that you're coming up like the again the added stuff. Now you're turning into a navigator. Okay, go this way. You're like the backseat driver, literally.
For sure. But now they have to listen to me instead of hush me up.
Right, right. Hey, what's that? What's that fist mean? That means lock it up. No, I'm talking. I'm telling you where you're going. Gosh, jeez.
Exactly.
You need to listen to me when I talk to you. Don't just listen. Listen.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my
Accurate, bold,
gosh.
concise, baby.
Yeah. On point. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well done, Ashlee. To you and your entire crew. That is amazing. That is amazing. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Collins Aerospace Goodrich. Whether your mission is saving lives or servicing high-value assets, Collins Aerospace's Goodrich hoists stay ready to assist. Features such as single-point payout reduce the potential for hoist-induced load swings, enhancing overall safety.
All right, I'm going to keep going if that's good with you. All right.
Right on.
So
Let's roll.
You're next one. You earned another letter of accommodation. And yeah, you know what? Let's just get right into it. Subject, letter of accommodation. I note with pride and am pleased to commend you of your performance of duty while assigned to Coast Guard Air Station Atlantic City Deployable Rotary Wing Air Intercept Detachment in support of the 2012 Republican and Democratic National Conventions from 20 August 2012 to 8 September 2012. As a member of the maintenance team, your detachment, you spent countless hours performing scheduled and unscheduled maintenance to 2 H-65 helicopters while deployed to 3 different international airports in Florida and North Carolina, resulting in 100% launch success rate on the primary aircraft. Over the course of 3-week deployment, your exceptional managerial and technical skills assessed a team of 5 mechanics as they timeless completed 5 7-day inspections, 2 14-day inspections, 1 30-day inspection, and 1 90-day inspection on 2 aircraft temporarily assigned from 2 different Coast Guard air stations. Additionally, you completed hours of unscheduled maintenance on both aircraft to include the replacement of the control display unit, flight director unit, main landing gear tire assembly, engine starter generator unit, signal interface unit, system coupler computer, and 2 engine oil vent lines. Demonstrating superb adaptability, you assisted in the deployment of multiple courses of action to deal with unforeseen maintenance and logistical challenges while conducting in-depth maintenance procedures outdoors on busy aircraft ramps during the extreme southern heat. Your tireless efforts directly contributed to the successful protection of the President and the Vice President of the United States presidential and vice presidential candidate, along with over 8,000 delegates and VIPs from across the nation during both conventions. Your actions and service during this period embody the Coast Guard's deeply reared core values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty. Bravo, Zulu. You're commended for your outstanding performance of duty. By your meritorious service, you have upheld the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Dang! So that's not even rescue. That's straight up deployment and like dropping it. Oh my gosh. It's crazy to me what the Coast Guard does. It really is. Like, we do so much. It's insane. So
yeah, I feel like there's so many missions and so many cool things, just like what you read, that we do, that like the general public and like even our counterpart Bodies in the Coast Guard like really have no clue what we do. So it's just cool to kind of, recognize it and honor our Coast Guard, because we are sort of the forgotten branch, and we protect the United States. Like, if there's anything that goes on, it's like, we're not over in a war zone necessarily, but like, waterways and security, navigation, search and rescue. I mean, you name it. It's like we're jack of all trades, but we master it all is what we do.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, we do. I actually have to say yes, they do, because I'm not in it anymore. We're not. Yeah, they do. Yes, we do.
Just own that.
I'll do it
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So while you were out there, so you were just you were there for protection of the Republican and Democratic national conventions. So you were going all over, kind of following them around as just a detail for that.
Yeah, there was so many missions and sorties that happened, but as a general overview, I mean, if there was a convention happening, we were making sure air security was available there, flying over, hovering, high up with Secret Service in the helicopter, different things, or they would clear out a whole highway for presidential movement. So we would basically fly behind the motorcades and make sure that there was no random aircraft intercept. We would train in rotary wing air intercept. So that means if there was a target entering an airspace that they shouldn't be in, when there's a dignitary or a presidential member transitioning from one location to another, we were coming in hot, and we were making sure those people were not going to get close to the people that we were protecting. So yeah, kind of an awesome thing that we do as aviators. We're doing crazy search and rescues, crazy missions like protecting our our members of government. It's just it's pretty wild.
Dang, girl. I don't even think I knew that. Look, I just learned something new today. I'm so excited. Holy cow. That's amazing. All right. Well, let me go on to the next one, because you got another letter of commendation here. And this one is for okay, no, there we go. I'm going to get right into it. Subject, letter of accommodation. I note with pride and am pleased to commend you of your superior performance of duty while serving as flight mechanic aboard rescue helicopter 6534 on 1 September 2014. Having returned from a flare sighting at 0300, you overcame mission fatigue and diligently responded to an early morning report of a missing kayaker 30 nautical miles west of Muskegon, Michigan. With 2-mile visibility, 200-foot ceilings, and winds gusting into 25 knots, the rescue helicopter quickly responded to the personal locator beacon. Once on scene, with the kayak nearly capsizing due to the sea state, it was immediately apparent the kayaker was in need of assistance, as he was frantically waving his paddle to the helicopter and appeared to be vomiting. With the nearest surface asset over 45 minutes away and conditions worsening, you calmly assisted the pilots in jettisoning fuel and promptly readied the cabin and the rescue swimmer. You then conned the helicopter in position, and you expedited the delivery of the rescue basket and recovered the survivor with ease in spite of the challenging conditions. After ensuring the safety of the survivor, you quickly chose to recover the rescue swimmer via the bear hook, which saved valuable time in getting the survivor to medical treatment. En route to the hospital, you assisted the rescue swimmer in comforting the survivor, and you notified surface assets of the now derelict vessel. Your commitment to others' superior performance and skills as a flight mechanic were instrumental in the overall success of the mission and resulted in one life saved. You're commended for your outstanding performance of duty. By your meritorious service, you have upheld the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Oh, snap! Now, here's the greatest part about this, is it started, or actually ended for you at 0300, so 3 o'clock in the morning, after a flare sighting, which I would imagine you probably flew an entire bag of gas, which is just over like 2 hours, give or take, right?
Yeah, I believe we actually bagged. Well, no, I think we did 2 sorties with that one, if I remember correctly. So I'll back up a little bit just so our listeners can understand. Yeah, I got to give the full 411 here, baby.
Absolutely.
So okay, while being stationed at Air Station Detroit, during peak seasons of holidays, so Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, things like that, we send one helicopter out to an air facility in Muskegon to kind of help cover some of the AOR there on Lake Michigan. So myself and 2 pilots and a rescue swimmer, we were out there every other day on and off with a different crew supporting missions. So again, like, I don't know if people know this, but in the Great Lakes, there's the highest concentration of recreational boats and stuff in the summer and early fall season. Like, it is crazy out
Really?
there. So that's why we kind of spread the wealth and spread our helicopters out a little bit so that way we can cover more area in less time. So myself, two pilots, and my rescue swimmer, which was a really good friend of mine, Nate Fesky.
Hey,
He was my,
Fesky! Nice. Nice
yeah,
shout out. Love
you're
it.
my boy Blue. so yeah, we were out there stationed, and we had just done, I want to say it was 2 sorties, so about 4 hours flying in the middle of the night for this flare sighting. Nothing came of it, so we were back, hit the rack, trying to reset for the next day. And then early morning is when we got the launch for the kayaker. Now, this one we knew to be a little bit more legit than just a flare sighting, because this guy who was kayaking, he had an EPIRB, so an emergency position locating device. And he actually, a couple months or weeks prior, he was practicing and training to swim his kayak, or rather kayak, all the way from one side of Lake Michigan to the other. Now, I can imagine his training was pretty legit, but weather out on Lake Michigan can turn south really quickly. And so he realized about halfway through his journey that, through the night, he had been out there all night long. Kind of nausea, hypothermia, early onset of hypothermia. He was pretty seasick out there, and realized he wasn't going to make it, and complete his mission. So that's when he put on his locating device. So when we heard that, like that it was an actual EPIRB going off, we got a little like, all right, this is going to be legit. Let's go. So we plugged in the GPS location, and we went right on scene. And he was actually, throwing up pretty profusely out in the water. So I tried to lower Nate, my rescue swimmer, and, enough area to where he can navigate around the puke. But, that was sort of secondary at that time. But yeah, we got him in the basket, and he was in pretty rough conditions. So we hurried up. I did the bear hook recovery, which means I didn't lower any rescue device onto the hook. I just put the hook right on top of him. He clicked in, and we were able to call an ambulance and get him back to the air facility so that he can go get proper medical attention. So and this actually made the local news out there. So there is a news clip of this somewhere on YouTube for any listeners who want to learn a little bit more about that case.
What? For real? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I might be interested. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, if you search like Lake Michigan kayaker rescued by the Coast Guard or something to that effect, you'll see some news articles pop up.
These photos were sent to us by the U.S. Coast Guard Air Facility in Muskegon, Michigan. The crew rescued the 31-year-old kayaker seen here wearing black this morning. Officials say the Michigan man had activated an emergency beacon which sent out a distress signal. He was found 2 hours later, 30 miles from the western Michigan shoreline. He had set off from Milwaukee on Saturday.
Being loaded into that rescue basket is kayaker Matthew Freimeyer. The trip started Saturday night, but as winds picked up and waves climbed, the experienced kayaker was a bit overwhelmed. It was a dangerous rescue as the Coast Guard tried to locate a tiny speck in one of the biggest Great Lakes. 30-mile-per-hour winds added to the difficulties as the rescue swimmer had to ascend and descend 10-foot waves. For Freimeyer, it was difficult to stay afloat, let alone keep the kayak upright.
I was getting a lot of water in the boat. I'd have to bail out all the time. I wasn't making any progress through the waves, and my arms just weren't working at all.
Run me through the hoist, like the whole evolution. And I know, like, I like the details, like the fine details. But while you're getting ready to lower your swimmer out, what was there a little conversation? Like, you just said you were trying to like keep him away from the puke in the water. But are you just doing like, where is it a harness deployment, free fall deployment?
So
I guess it's early in the morning, so you're doing a harness.
We did a harness for one of two reasons. He was really sick and not in a good position, and when you do a free fall deployment, you're lowering the helicopter, which expands the rotor wash, and we really wanted to try to keep him outside of the rotor wash. So we did a harness deployment. I lowered Nate far enough away to where he was outside of the puke and he could swim and assess our patient or our survivor. He gives me the basket signal, which I immediately know, okay, he's not in critical care, so he's not going to need a litter. I'm able to put him into the basket, so immediately. And I'll back up. On our way out there, we had, I believe, about a 20 minute to 30-minute flight. So we had plenty of time to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. If the guy's, in good enough condition, we're going to put him in a basket. So we kind of already pre-planned and verbalized kind of
Nice.
the loose structure of the operation. So once we got on scene, it was just like go time. And so I lowered the basket, got him safely in the basket, into the helicopter. And then again, I could tell that he was not in good shape, and he wasn't quite needing a litter, but he was borderline early stages of hypothermic. He had been very dehydrated and seasick. So I was like, all right, forget about, lowering anything for Nate. I'm just going to throw that bear hook down and get him and take him in. So once he got in the helicopter, we already had pre-staged to call the to call the ambulance to be waiting at the air facility in Muskegon. So that way, once we landed, the ambulance could come out and get this gentleman to the hospital for proper further care.
Cool. I got one more question back up in the helicopter. When you get the guy inside the helicopter, so you have an option, and I know this again because I'm a flight mech as well, or it's sort of. I hoist, okay? But you have a choice. You can leave the survivor in the basket and just slide the basket in the back and say, hey, sit right there, and then send the hook back down. Or you can bring him in and kind of catty corner it so the basket's protecting the door and say, get out, sit over there in the back corner, put the basket away, and then send the hook down. What did you do?
Correct. So going back to the fact that he was highly dehydrated, he had been out there, he had little to no energy. So to ask this man to now try to climb out of a basket in a pretty small helicopter, the assessment, the risk versus gain was not there for me. I knew that I didn't need the basket to safely recover my rescue swimmer. So in that moment, I made the decision to let him just sit in the basket, rest. I gave him, I think he had a bottle of water. I gave him my bottle of water, and so he could have something to drink. And I just got my rescue swimmer, and we were out of there. But yeah, typically, if we rescue somebody and they have the capability to get out of the basket, we always want to use the basket for the most time to retrieve our swimmer. So that way it just provides them an extra layer of security and safety getting them back in the helicopter.
Yeah, totally. And again, the reason I'm asking that is, did you have options once you get up to the aircraft, as far as a flight mechanic? So it's what do you want to do? And I mean, to keep him in the basket, I think I probably would have done the same thing, because he's in there, he's secure. You only got the one guy. Slide him to the back. You sit right there. You stay right there, and then give me that hook, and then you send the hook back down. Swimmer can do what he does when he gets up there. I like that. Oh, Ashlee, that's freaking awesome. Well done to you and your crew. Sick. Nice shout out to Nate, too.
Again, it's not to make light of his needing to be rescued, but again, it's super awesome when you can go out there. We train. We have so many training flight hours. So to actually put those training flight hours into use, man, that's what we live for as aviators. We want to go out there and be in the shit and save people.
Totally. We totally do. And the worst part about it is, I will agree with you. Nobody wants somebody else to get hurt. But if you're going to get hurt,
we'll be there to save you.
Well, yeah. While I'm working, could you do it while I'm working, please? Oh my gosh. Dude, God, that's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, and again, it was super rad because I had one of my best buddies with me, so Nate and I, we, when you have a good rapport with your crew, you're a family, right? So it's like, man, I want to love the pilots I'm flying with. I want to love my rescue swimmer, because at the end of the day, we're all surviving together, or we're all going in the drink together. So we better have a good, working relationship. So it was nice to have my homie there with me. And yeah, man, that's he's cool. Awesome. And he does great things to this day. So.
I love it. Good deal. I'm going to keep going because I'm digging on this right now. So we got kind of two more, and they're getting bigger and bigger as we go. So this one right here, you earned yourself an achievement medal for a rescue to a 65-foot sailing vessel. So let me read this, and then, I'm looking forward to hearing this one too. Citation to accompany the award of the Coast Guard Achievement Medal to Ashlee Leppert, Avionics Electrical Technician, 2nd Class, United States Coast Guard. Petty Officer Leppert is cited for superior performance of duty while serving as flight mechanic aboard Coast Guard Helicopter 6533 on 9 May 2016 during the complex nighttime medical evacuation of a 90-year-old male from the sailing vessel Mingulay. Once on scene, Petty Officer Leppert immediately prepared the cabin for hoisting to the 65-foot sailing vessel floundering in rough seas. She quickly conducted a harness deployment of the rescue swimmer to the water. After he was safely on board the Mignolet, she prepared for a trail line delivery of the litter. With the vessel dead in the water and oriented in a direction not conducive to hoisting, she capably conned the helicopter into a position to deliver the trail line. Once it was on deck with the rescue swimmer, a large wave forced the vessel's 85-foot mast to sway violently and catch the trail line. Recognizing the severity of the situation, she quickly made a safe decision to discard it. Without hesitation, she moved into delivering the litter to the rescue swimmer in the water. Once the patient was finally secured, she led the aircraft through an extremely quick recovery of the patient, who had been transferred to a 45-foot response boat. Her expert hoisting resulted in the patient being safely delivered to the hospital. Petty Officer Leppert's diligence, perseverance, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended, in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Ashlee, dang it, it's just getting like we're up at the level. Like everywhere you go, you're just going a little harder. What the heck? This is awesome.
And this is where I insert the Eminem. Like, my palms are sweaty, my knees are weak. Like, all right, don't put that.
Let's go. We're gonna let that ride. Let's go.
Like, because literally, as we're reading these, my palms are getting sweaty because I vividly recall how like nervous I was for this one. Okay, so like, black and stormy night, crazy waves, you have a sailboat, like the mast is just rocking, dude. And like, I think the most important thing about being a successful flight mechanic is knowing your limits. And as much as we're like, we want to be the hero, we want to save the day, like if what you're planning on doing, you know, is dangerous and not going to be successful, like it takes courage to be like, we got to reassess, right? Like that's the main thing that I want to invoke out of this story is I tried to say, okay, can I put this litter on this deck with this mast going back and forth? And I attempted, and when it got too crazy, I was like, you know what? No, like pause. It's not worth our lives in the helicopter, you know, going in the drink because of something stupid like this. So I kind of had to make the call, and I just had to be like, okay, I can't put this litter safely on this deck with how bad these seas are and this mast just rocking back and forth. So yeah, we ended up thinking about it, talking with the rescue swimmer on deck, and I was like, okay, if I lower the litter into the water, can you successfully retrieve that with the trail line? And so that's how it ended up working. We ended up, he had the trail line, and the first attempt was a no-go. Second attempt, I put the litter in the water actually, and he retrieved it onto the vessel from the water, as opposed to me, you know, dropping it straight down onto the vessel. And then it worked to where I was able to retrieve the patient from the litter into the water, and then basically brought him right over to the back of the boat, who had then at that point been on scene to recover the patient that way. So yeah, it was pretty wild how it all worked. But at the end of the day, we just knew like I could not lower this litter down onto the boat with that mast just freaking swaying, man. And the rescue swimmer was like, yeah, let's not do that. Not looking like a good option. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. And I want to say it was an older gentleman. He had like fallen and broken his hip, I want to say. So he was basically immobile. So there wasn't like a way for him to, you know, walk, you know, anywhere or get it. He had to fully be on that litter to get onto that cutter that was on scene. Or not the cutter, it was a small boat.
So let me back up to the beginning of this. So you lower the swimmer down to the water. Swimmer swims over to the boat, climbs up on the boat, right? You're sitting in the background. You're like, okay, he's on the boat. Now you have to lower a litter, like fully done up with a trail line. And trail line for everybody out there is a tagline or guideline, but it's a rope with a weight bag. You lower it down to the vessel, and once it gets on deck, the mast is going like back and forth over the heavy waves, and it gets wrapped up around the mast. Dang.
Yeah, it was not good. We ended up having to cancel that first one. I disconnected it from the litter and I tossed it. Like after attempting, I was like, nope, not worth it. That one's tangled. We have what is it, like
Three.
three or four trail lines? Yeah, thank you.
Three.
Sorry, some of those things are slowly going out of my
Yeah,
but yeah,
all
so
good,
I was
all
like,
good.
okay. Yeah, we have another attempt. Let's reset. Let's take a break. Let's do this right instead of just trying to get it right the first time. We have multiple chances to try.
So you get the tagline down, or the trail line down on deck for the second one, and this time you're gonna opt to just drop the litter down to the water. Now on the hoist hook, or you just drop it, just push it out.
Just push it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
At that point, because we could get low enough to where I could just kick it out, and I was like, at that point, he can retrieve it that way and pull it up onto the sailboat without even getting any, hoist cable near that mast that's swaying like crazy.
Yeah. All right. So now he gets your swimmer. Who's your swimmer? Do you remember who your swimmer was for this one? That's all right.
I feel like I always want to say Ben Dent because he was like so prevalent in a lot of my rescues.
Oh, Ben Dent. I love Ben Dent.
Love Ben Dent.
All right. So swimmer gets the patient in the litter. Now, are you guys just kind of doing patterns in the air while the small boats or the 45's coming out?
Correct. Yeah. At that point, we're kind of doing just kind of sweeps around, making sure that the evolution's going well. We're talking to the swimmer on the radio, so he's giving us updates. Also, as I mentioned, at that point we have this small boat. I think it was a 47 foot boat that was coming in on scene to assist us because we knew at that point, like, we're not going to be able to hoist this litter safely into the helicopter.
So were you watching them when they moved the victim from the boat to the small boat, or from the sailboat to the small boat?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
That
I mean, at that point, dude, it was absolutely gnarly. And it was weird because, like, obviously the sailboat doesn't have any power on it, so it's full blown just waving. I'm surprised, quite frankly, looking back at this, probably one of the scariest moments of my life, because I mean, I was just watching this unfold and I was like, man, like, this guy our rescue swimmer has to get this litter onto the boat, full, it was just crazy, but they did it and I was proud of them. The boat, the 47 kind of came alongside and made it happen. It was pretty wild.
But it's not over yet, because you still have to hoist off the 47. So you hoist the guy that's in the litter, who's now been transferred from the sailboat to the small boat. They break away from the sailboat to drive into the waves to set the helicopter into a 45-degree turn. So that you're going at just 45 off the wind ish, and now you have to do a hoist off the boat. How is that?
Just like any other hoist, honestly, the 47 was a lot more stable. That we could once they were actually going and picking up speed, that's where you can stabilize things because we get right behind them. We're in the wind. That was a lot easier than honestly lowering a trail line to a swing sailboat mast. Like, all day, I'll take the second evolution all day over the first. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then you pick your swimmer up after that and head home.
That's right. Yep.
And you did the whole thing on one bag of gas.
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, this wasn't the finer details are sort of like kind of slipping away, but it was not so far off where we were. So we didn't have to travel I think it was like a 15-minute flight. So we had plenty of gas, once we were on scene to make it happen. So but yeah, I think,
where were you stationed at the time?
It had to be a little bit more than that because we had to get low. Oh no, we took off low on gas. So yeah, we took off with a reduced amount of gas so that way once we were on scene, we could rock and roll.
Got it. Where were you stationed at the time for this one?
Gosh, what was this? 2000.
This was
15. Did it say?
16. 2016.
2016. I was in New Orleans.
Dang.
That was my first taste of like New Orleans search and rescue, which is probably one of the craziest search and rescue units in the Coast Guard, in my opinion.
Wow. Dang, girl. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see that whole thing. Just everything you're describing from the sailboat and the mast, it's one of the hardest things to do because you have to be so high in altitude. I mean, you have an 85-foot mast, so already you need your aircraft at like 100 feet. And I don't think I'm exaggerating with being at 100 feet with an 85-foot mast. All my pilots out there, you guys would be like, yes or nah, no big deal. But I always remember being at like 100 feet and something like that. So, and
Dude,
for a
like I
pilot to
said,
have
like no
reference,
shame. Yeah, like honestly, like no shame in me admitting it. Like honestly, that was probably one of the scarier flights I've ever been on. And afterwards, you get done, even though the mission was successful, you're like, man, do like I mess up? Should I done that? You know, you always do this. Shoulda,
Yeah.
coulda, woulda. But at the end of the day, the guy's life was saved. Nobody got hurt. There was no mechanical errors, no issues. So we have to take it as a win and just say, hey, we assessed it the best
Yeah.
way we could, and that's all you can do.
I'm on a win all day long. You did exactly what you needed to do to get the victim and the guy in distress out of harm's way and into a hospital. I don't care how you do it, you did it, right? I'm just like, again, I'm thinking about this from multiple aspects. Pilot wise, at 100 foot on a 65-foot sailing vessel, his reference is almost nothing. Like I could almost see where he would creep too far forward, and then yeah, and that's where it could have been a potential for the tagline or the trail line getting wrapped around the mast. At the same time, the swimmer working on deck, you had to get the swimmer on deck. Oh my god,
for sure. And that's what I'm saying is that's why it's so important and critical is, you know, although we train and we do the training nonstop and we can do the vanilla, you know, boat rescues easy, but we need to be able to think outside of the box. That's where the risk versus gain is to a whole nother level and expedited to these kind of missions where it's like, okay, time out. We might have to do something that's a little unconventional here, but it's safer and it's going to get the job done instead of trying to do what you know how to do. And it's not the best option. It's kind of like moving into Hurricane Harvey. You know, you're doing urban SAR. We never trained for urban SAR, and here we are plucking people off roofs and looking out for power lines and stuff that we're not used to. So I think looking in outside of the box and thinking big picture is really what makes you a good aviator, quite honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's our job. That's our job, is to figure it out. Like that. That's like we train. I'm all about the good proper training. All about it. I am a key component. I'm a big voice for that. Go train. Go get your training in. But I'm also to the point where, man, you have got to think outside the box. Don't put yourself in that little box, because that little box does not exist outside in the real world of SAR. It doesn't happen. Every mission I've ever been on in my entire career has been different. Not one has been the same.
Yep.
So anyway,
so true.
Dang, good job. Good job to you and your entire crew. Wow, that's amazing. Fucking awesome.
Just an honor to do it, man. Just an honor to do it.
I love it. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Switlik. No mission is the same. Why should your suit be? Introducing a new custom dry suit experience. Choose your fabric, colors, neck and wrist seals, zippers, pockets, collars, and so much more. Intelligent measuring prompts ensure the most tailored fit. Brought to you by Switlik Survival Products. For more information, visit us at www.switlik.com.
Well, I get to go one more because this one right here, girl, you earned yourself an air medal. And I'm pumped about this one. We've had a couple of people on here to talk about Hurricane Harvey and what they did. But I always get excited to get these stories. So let's hear this one. Citation to accompany the award of the Air Medal to Ashlee Leppert, Avionics Electrical Technician, 2nd Class, United States Coast Guard. Pastor Leppert is cited for meritorious achievement in aerial flight from 24 to 31 August 2017 while serving as flight mechanic aboard Coast Guard 65D helicopters in the response to Hurricane Harvey. As her aircrew pushed their aircraft to the edge of its performance envelope, battling intense rain, gusting winds, and extreme low visibility, she demonstrated exceptional focus, repeatedly performing rescue hoists to severely damaged and flooded buildings amid live power lines, towers, and trees. Most notable, after her aircraft landed on the highway, she exited the aircraft and waded through chest-deep, debris-filled floodwaters, determined to help. Armed with cable cutters, she cut down portions of a chain-link fence, creating a direct path to her aircraft for a rescue swimmer and 3 elderly survivors. She displayed remarkable tenacity when rescuing victims of a devastated neighborhood. With limited fuel, she hoisted 14 critical patients, including a child on a ventilator and another with a feeding tube. She strategically positioned 5 adults and 9 children in the helicopter's cabin, removing them from immediate danger while keeping the aircraft's center of gravity balanced the entire time. The next day, fighting physical and mental exhaustion, she hoisted a convulsing and unconscious woman within mere feet of obstacles and used her strength to position her for safe transport. Ashlee Leppert's actions and skill were instrumental in the saving of 49 lives. Her courage, judgment, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Ashlee, holy shit!
Dude, I love the way you read that award. Like, that was awesome.
Ashlee, that's amazing. Like, you're landing on a highway, running over with like the cable cutters and cutting a chain link fence. Are you freaking kidding me? You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. Okay, Hurricane Harvey, let's hear it from you.
Oh, wow. Again, like, sorry, I like sort of tear up a little bit because it's just such an awesome thing. Like, I just love what we do. Like, we just help people in need, and it's so needed and it's so rewarding. Okay, with that little plug out of the way, so I was actually on call. So I was the backup crew the night that the hurricane hit. So just backing up, earlier that week, I was actually over in Pensacola for the assist training, the suicide awareness training. So that was a very big thing for me, is to get that training. So I was actually out in Pensacola getting this training, and I had kind of seen like whispers of a hurricane brewing, but like, you know, nobody ever thinks that it's going to come their way. You're like always tracking it, and they've got 100 spaghetti strings all over the TV. So like nobody really knows where it's going, right? So I didn't think too much about it. And then I get back to New Orleans, and it was Saturday, and I was on the backup crew, and about 3 a.m, I get a call from my commander, and Larry Santos. I love that guy. He's super cool. And he calls me, and he's like, super calm voice. He's like, well, Ashlee, are you ready to go out to the hurricane? And I was like, hell yes, sir, let's go. So like I packed my bag, and like, again, I think I'm going to be gone for like a day. You know, I don't really know the logistic of how this is going to play out. Nobody knew really how this was going to play out. So I packed my flight bag with like a couple pairs of socks, maybe my toothbrush, and I'm like out the door. And I get into work, and I mean, my rescue swimmer, Bob Hovey, myself, my 2 pilots, I mean, we were out the door within 15 minutes, and we ended up being one of the first helicopters on scene as it like made landfall, and it was just go time. It was from the second we got in the air, we refueled in Beaumont, and like the water was smashing down. I was like, dude, I feel like we almost should stay in Beaumont, Texas, because it's pretty bad out here. But of course we had orders to Ellington Field, which is in Houston. So on our way out there, we just start rescuing, man. It was cool. Our first one was to hoist somebody who was having a heart attack in an apartment building, and then there was a pregnant woman who was basically like giving birth, and she was trapped in her apartment building. So we had to land in a flooded parking lot and maneuver our way to go save her. It was like just so many crazy like evolutions, like all at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're hoisting in an environment that we're unfamiliar with. Like, so backing up, you know, as I mentioned the last time, like thinking outside of the box is really what, you know, kept us all alive this entire time, is because I had to keep my head on a swivel. You're in a different area of responsibility than you're normally used to, right? So throw that in the mix. So you have no idea where power lines are. You have no idea where trees and towers and all these normal obstacles that you have to, you know, navigate away from. And then we're dealing with like full blown gusts of water and wind coming inside of our helicopter, getting everything wet. So we were dropping nav, GPS, we were dropping all types of things that, you know, you could still fly with, but like, we're like, dude, again, risk versus gain. Like, we don't really need that component. Like, there's people out here like needing us. Like, let's roll. So yeah, man, like I could talk probably for an hour just on that craziness part of it, but yeah.
I'm okay with it. I just throwing that out there. I don't know everybody else, but I'm good with it. So I really want to hear about you're wading through chest deep water. Like what?
So what happened was our sister helicopter
I love that.
got out there.
I love how that started. What had happened was
What had happened was our sister helicopter that was out there, with actually my friend Kristen on board. So Kristen was the flight mechanic, and they lost hoist operations. So they had some sort of hoist failure. So they were pretty much a sitting duck. Like they could help, but they really couldn't hoist. So we're flying past, and we see this helicopter like parked on the I-10. Well, I do. Why is this helicopter just parked there? Let's go land behind him and like see what's going on. So we land behind them. We're talking to them on the radio. Come to find out they've lost all hoisting capabilities, but there's people that need to be saved, those 3 elderly people. So my pilot looks back at me. Well, first, my rescue swimmer, Bob, he gets out of the water or gets out of the helicopter, and he's like heading towards where it's all taking place, where the other helicopter crew is already at. So I'm like, okay, well, what do? I'm not just going to sit in this helicopter while people need help. So we hear on the radio, Bob, my rescue swimmer, says, there's a fence that we can't get through. We need cable cutters. So I was like, that's my cue. So my pilot looks back at me and he's like, well, Ashlee, you ready to go be a hero? Or he said something to that effect. I was like, sir, I was born ready for this shit. Let's go. So I hop out of the helicopter and I make my way. And now, mind you, like it's like chest deep water, and it's like oil, debris. I mean, there was balls of fire ants that I remember going by. Like it was pretty rad. So I take the cable cutters and we go over. I think it was myself and I can't remember who else helped me, but there was somebody else that helped like make way, like a gaping hole in a fence line, so that we could go get the 3 elderly people that were trapped. So it was myself, Graham McGinnis, and Bob Hovey. We go over and they have the people in their arms and they're holding them, but there's this boat that's stuck on the hitch that they need removed. So I'm like, you know what? You hear these stories about like, man, I was doing this one thing and there was an accident and I had this crazy amount of energy and take over.
Yeah.
That's literally what I felt. This adrenaline rush of like, so I lifted this boat off this hitch so that they could get by with these elderly people. And then I'm waiting behind them, and they had 2 people. One lady was in a little like I guess it was like a little walker, like something that elderly people sit in, not necessarily a wheelchair, but like just their. So I'm helping carry that out. Bob has one elderly dude over his shoulders, and we wait him out. We take him through the little fence line that we ripped open, and we take him to the helicopters, and we leave the rescue swimmers on scene, and we actually just flew. I, myself, and the 2 pilots flew those 3 people to the landing zone. I think at that point we had taken them to the hospital pad is where we took them to. So yeah, it was just wild. I was like doing rescue swimmer type stuff, but I was like, I'm not missing an opportunity to help out. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, Ashlee, that is badass. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was super cool, man. Yeah, and just being a part of that, again, just saving 3 lives. Like we didn't think about the risk of like what's in this water. You don't think about that stuff. All of your needs go on the back burner, and you're like, these people need saved. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Dang, I'm gonna even go back to the awards here for a second, because past that, you ended up hoisting people that were on a ventilator, and what was the other one? Another tube.
Feeding tube.
Yeah, it's right. So you had a ventilator and a feeding tube. Oh my gosh, that's coming in the helicopter. Like you got to hoist them up, and wow.
It was insane. So that actually was day 2 of my hoistings. The first day was what I just described with the elderly couples, and then there was the pregnant woman that we had to.
Pregnant
so
woman
now,
too?
yeah. So okay. So after we get the elderly people, we go back to that location, and I pick up my rescue swimmer, but I also gain an extra swimmer. Graham McGinnis hopped in our helicopter because his helicopter didn't have hoisting. Yeah. His helicopter didn't have hoisting capabilities, so we're like, hey, dude, hop in our helicopter. Like, screw it. Like, we can never have too many swimmers. Like, let's go save lives, man. So he hops in our helicopter, and that's when we get the call about the pregnant woman who's trapped in this apartment building. So
I remember him telling this story. Oh my God. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
Dude,
I love this story.
yeah,
I love this story.
Dude, yeah, dude. So it was wild. And like, man, we just worked seamlessly as a crew. Like, I just love those guys. And like my pilots, it was perfect. So anyways, we do a whole lot of, reconnaissance missions. We find finally a flooded parking lot that is big enough to, lower our helicopter in. We hop down in, into the water. My rescue swimmer, Bob, Graham, myself, we all hop in the back of this local guy's truck who was like trying to help us out. And he had a big enough truck that he could wade through some of this water. So he finally takes us to the apartment complex, and this woman is like going in and out of consciousness. She's in bad shape. So I know how much fuel is left in the helicopter, and I know that I've got to kind of reinstill a little bit of a sense of emergency to everybody in that room. So I kind of like looked at the husband and I was like, sir, if you want your wife and this baby to survive, she's got to go now with us. So I think that kind of like me saying that kind of like amped it up. Like, I'm not trying to scare everybody, but like also this is life or death, and we got to rock and roll out of here, man. So we grabbed a bunch of blankets and we carry her out to the bed of this truck, and we drive back to the helicopter. We're offloading our raft. We're offloading the basket because we don't have room for none of that right now. And so Bob, this pregnant woman who's not in good shape at all, and our rescue swimmer, Bob, the pregnant woman, and I believe it was her husband, hopped in the helicopter, and then they took off and dropped her off at the helicopter or at the hospital, while myself and Graham again stayed back so they could come back and pick us up. So just wild, man. Just wild.
Actually, that is awesome. Oh my gosh. Wow, what a good time.
Dude, it was great, man. And like and it was cool because in that moment of like the helicopter's gone and we're sitting there next to our raft and the basket, and I've got my helmet, like Graham and I just had a moment. Like I remember him getting emotional and tearing up a little bit, and I did too, because it was like, in the grand scheme of how phenomenal this was, we're out doing the best mission on freaking Earth. Like, it does take a toll on you because you're seeing like massive devastation and people's lives are just, so along with the glory of going out there and doing the coolest mission on the planet, there's that somberness of like, dude, these lives and these people's lives are like changed forever. They're traumatized by this. And so by default, obviously we're a little traumatized by it too.
Wow, Ashlee, that is awesome. I love these stories so much. This is ridiculous how much I love these stories.
Yeah,
thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, of course. Yeah, man. I love to honor, my crew members that were out there with me. I love to honor like the Coast Guard and our mission that a lot of people don't know about. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about it. Heck
yeah, this is certainly my pleasure. 100% my pleasure. I'm actually going to touch on one more award that you got, but this is an end of tour award, and it's what's cool about an end of tour award is they kind of recap a lot of what you've done. So they break down your resume, and I know we touched on one a little earlier in the beginning of the episode, but I'm just going to highlight a couple things here. So it's citation to accompany the award of the Coast Guard Achievement Medal, Gold Star in lieu of second, to Ashlee Leppert, avionics electrical technician, second class, United States Coast Guard. And then in this, just a couple highlights. Ready? High tempo and the landfall of 2 major hurricanes. Distinguished herself through the professionalism and technical excellence. Specifically, she exhibited exemplary airmanship as an 865D flight mechanic, acquiring 317 flight hours, responding to 37 search and rescue SAR cases and major hurricanes, ultimately saving 29 lives and assisting 22 others. Wow. Well done, girl. Well done.
Thank you. Again, man, we don't sign up for the awards at all, but it's just a stark reminder of the people that are alive today from the sacrifices we gave, and to me, that's my award, man. That's a beautiful feeling.
we say it here a lot. We don't do it for the awards. We don't do it for the accolades. We do it because we love what we do. The awards and the accolades are nice to have, but when I get to read them, I get pumped when I get reading them because I get all motivated. I'm ready to like go save lives right now. It's like let's go, let's go.
Dude, I miss it every day. Trust me. Like my favorite award that I've actually gotten was after I was out of the military, and I got an award from my air crew. I believe it was Mr. Breen. He was my pilot, one of my pilots during the hurricane, and he ended up, I believe, between him and Graham McGinnis, they somehow were able to find out the pregnant woman and, you know, her name and get the story, and the baby, you know, was born healthy, beautiful baby boy. But my favorite award was an award from them thanking us. I'm just getting chills right now because I got that in the mail, and it made me so emotional thinking that, like, dude, like we potentially saved, well, we know we saved their lives, and this is the outcome that every Coast Guard aviator hopes for. And that was my favorite award, is just knowing that, man, this sacrifice and these long flight hours and those search and rescues and all that is worth this moment right here.
I am so happy to hear that you got a thank you letter and it made it to you. That's amazing. Props to those guys for getting in touch with you and getting that to you. Because very rare do we get to see that. And sometimes if it comes, especially if you're already gone out of the unit, it just falls on deaf ears, or they're like, oh, we don't know who this is, and they just kind of discard it. I've heard both, but I'm psyched. I'm psyched to hear that you got to hear that and see that and read that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the faces and the names of every single person that I rescued. Not the names, I'm sorry. I'll never forget the faces and the looks on their faces as I rescued them. But it sucks because I don't know their name. I don't know their story. I don't know how they've been since that. And so it's really cool that we actually had a moment to know the full story of somebody that we rescued. So yeah, thank you for saying that. It was cool.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, because most of the time it's like you pick them up, you drop them off, and then you go back. You got to turn the helicopter around. We got other people to go save. Like,
exactly.
High five, good job, you're alive.
Good job at doing your job. Now go turn around that aircraft.
Yeah. Hey, it's part of it. It's part of it. It's what we got to do, and I'm okay with it. Right. Very much so. Very much so.
Yes.
Actually, this has been amazing. I've had you on for a little while, but I want to know two more things. The first one I want to know is you wrote a book, and the book is called The Hurricane Within. So you said earlier it's about the Coast Guard, your involvement in the Coast Guard and some of your personal stories and whatnot. But what came of that? Why did you do that?
It's a kind of a culmination of reasons, but for the most part, you know, I went from this fantastic moment of saving lives in the hurricane and getting an air medal and going to President Trump's State of the Union and representing the Coast Guard, all these high moments. But internally, I was battling a health issue. I was dealing with, you know, PTSD. I was having anxiety. I actually got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition that ended my aviation career. So, you know, it's kind of crazy because we always hear about the good stuff and the awesome parts of it, but there's these battles that oftentimes take place unseen that, you know, we don't share with people around us because we're hesitant of judgment, we're fear of rejection and fear of all those things. But for me, my motivation for writing my book was just to be purely vulnerable with some things that I've been through in my life that I overcame, and just to let other people know that they're not alone in their struggles, that we all go through shit, and that if my testimony and my story can empower any person reading it, then to me, everything I went through in my life isn't in vain. And so that was a very big motivating factor. And it's absolutely terrifying putting all of your shit out there in a book for people to read, but again, I go back to, if it helps one person, if it saves one person, then I consider it worth every bit of nerves that I had sharing it. So yeah, my story, The Hurricane Within, is on Amazon. I also have a website, ashleeleppert.com, and people can go on there and order an autographed copy if they want. And if you're into audiobooks, I have an audiobook version as well. Yeah, I got you, Jason. I'll send you one.
I'm so excited. No, it's awesome. Nice. Wow, that's cool. All right, I'll have it up. We'll make sure we have the logo or the name of the book and stuff. And um, super cool, super cool. Right on. Thank you for sharing that. It is kind of funny when you think about it, like being vulnerable. Like you're putting some of your opinions and stuff that you have, some of your skeletons in your closet, and you're exposing them. I had somebody tell me one time, like over here, oh, that's you got some balls coming on here to like tell some of your stories. I'm like, yeah, but I want people to learn from it. I feel what you feel. I want people to learn. If I can help somebody not make a mistake and keep an air crew in the air or whatever, I don't even know. Like get help.
Exactly.
Seen
Yeah.
some,
And
seen
at the end
something.
of
Yeah.
the day, for sure, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing, Jason. At the end of the day, people are going to make their stories up about you, whether you like it or not. At least when it's your voice sharing it, people, what are you going to say about me? Oh, it's okay. It's already in my book. I already talked about my DUI. I already talked about all the dumb shit I've done in my life. So go ahead and talk about it. I don't care. So for me, it was like, I wanted my story to be authentic and from my voice and not the whispers around whoever or whatever. And also, again, going back to like this, the common thread is for me to be able to overcome what I came through and, to show people that they're not alone, then I don't care what people say about me. If I can help one person, then their whispers don't mean nothing to me.
Right on. That's freaking amazing. That's great. Great. Well done, Ashlee. I like that. Yeah, good for you. I'm psyched. Psyched.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
so
you.
one more thing, because you're doing even more now. So outside your book, we actually talked about it at the very beginning. You're like a life coach. You're a motivational life coach. I love it.
Yeah.
So this is the greatest part about this though, is that you wrote a book that put yourself out there, and now you're like, I'm going to help. I've been through some stuff. I've seen some stuff. I've had this happen. Let me help you. And boom, you're helping people left and right. It's not over yet.
Yeah, I'm sick of people, talking the talk. Oh, I'm so sick of veteran suicide. Oh, we need to take more time to do. Okay, well, listen, don't come to me with problems. Come to me with solutions, right? Like,
Woo!
I want to.
Let's go.
Like, I'm sorry, but I'm sick of like all this chatter of like mental health and blah, blah, blah. Okay, what can we do? If I can impact my small corner of the world and the people that God puts in my life to help, then that's called being a solution to a problem. So my passion project today is doing just that. I volunteer at the Okaloosa County Veteran Court System, helping other veterans that are struggling with the court system. I volunteer at the Honor Foundation, which is a special operations transition program to help these military members with a high-paced work environment know how to transition into like, okay, let me know how to be a civilian and finding work and just encouraging them through a very hard time. So those are things that I just do volunteer-wise. And I also am about 90% sure that I'm going to be starting a position with an amazing nonprofit organization. It's the SOF Mission, and they're based out of Tampa, and they focus on veteran, basically rehabilitation. So the 4 pillars of physical, spiritual, psychological, and social, like they take you through a clinic to help you uncover and unpack some stuff that you've not been able to. And so I'm going to be a part of that mission moving forward, and just being out there and being somebody that's going to walk the walk of helping others. And it kills me to know people in the world are hurting, and I don't want anybody to hurt. If I can help them and show them compassion, that is my mission today, sir. Boom!
Heck of a good boom. Drop like it's hot. I love it, girl. I love it. All right. Well, then I'll tell you what. I'm gonna ask one more question, then we'll close this out. But the advice that you would pass on, you've got some great stuff going on right now, and it can be based on what you've done in your career, your book, and what you're about to be doing. What advice would you pass on to everybody right now?
My advice would be, the best leadership quality that you have is bringing your own transformed life into everything that you do. I believe that your leadership style does not end once you're out of the military, once you're out of whatever. You have an opportunity to be the leader in your own home. And I believe that if you are going to be the best person to your family, your spouse, your children, your friends, your neighbors, you have to know how to take care of you first. And we, as a society, particularly in military and first responder roles, we're so quick to sacrifice for others and give to others. My biggest challenge to everybody listening is to take the time to heal from your trauma, your scars, your past, so that way everybody around you will benefit. And don't be ashamed, because we all have issues. Face them, deal with them, and let's kick ass together in life, baby.
Let's kick ass together in life. Oh, man. Oh, I'm using that as a quote. Absolutely. I'm dropping that. That's coming. That's coming. I'm telling you right now, that's coming.
I always do hashtag pray with me, don't play with me, baby.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Ashlee, this has been such a treat for me to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing some stories and what you're doing now. The book, super psyched. Man, this is great. This has been just a super good treat for me. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for sharing the stories of everybody you have on. I've loved listening to the stories that you've had on. So thank you for being a voice and amplifying some awesome stories.
Right on. My pleasure. My pleasure. When I get down to Florida, I'm calling you. We're going to go have a beer.
Dude, hell yeah. Oh,
Just
1
saying.
or 5.
Just saying.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, yeah, 1 or 5. I'm good with both.
Twist my arm.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, thanks, Ashlee. I'll be in touch. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was so good to meet you.
You too. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share, or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Collins Aerospace Goodrich. Whether your mission is saving lives or servicing high-value assets, Collins Aerospace's Goodrich hoists stay ready to assist. Features such as single-point payout reduce the potential for hoist-induced load swings, enhancing overall safety.
And
Switlick. No mission is the same. Why should your suit be? Introducing a new custom dry suit experience. Choose your fabric, colors, neck and wrist seals, zippers, pockets, collars, and so much more. Intelligent measuring prompts ensure the most tailored fit. Brought to you by Switlick Survival Products. For more information, visit us at www.switlick.com.
Go. From us at 9, a Fort Walton woman got the chance of a lifetime to compete on Wheel of Fortune, seen right here tonight on Fox 10. Now, she served in the Coast Guard and was honored to showcase her puzzle-solving skills on the much-loved game show, especially during Veterans Week. Fox News' Lacey Beasley talked to her this afternoon, and Lacey, she came out a big winner tonight.
Yeah, she did, Byron. Ashlee Albright has been a Wheel of Fortune enthusiast since she was a little girl and watched all the time with her grandmother. Very similar to myself, I loved watching Wheel of Fortune with my grandfather. And if you missed the episode, we have some highlights for you. Check it out.
Hi, Ashlee.
Hi, Pat.
Ashlee Albright is here from Fort Walton Beach, Florida, a lovely place.
Yes, sir.
There's Fort Walton woman and 14-year Coast Guard veteran Ashlee Albright on the big screen. On a whim, her husband encouraged her to apply for the show earlier this year.
He told me, you solve all these puzzles pretty quickly. You should try out. And I was like, no. You know, we always kind of doubt ourselves. And finally, after he encouraged me so much, I finally was like, okay, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? They say no, and I tried.
When you got the email that you had been accepted, what was going through your mind? What was your reaction?
I literally ran around the house screaming with pure joy. Like, I was so excited.
and she decided what better time to compete than Veterans Week.
I'd like to solve.
Yeah, go ahead.
Working the room for rent.
Yeah, that's it. I saw the bulb go off.
I know.
After solving multiple puzzles, Ashlee was the big winner of the night and made it to the bonus round.
She has $18,300 and wants more. Can you believe it?
I can't.
We got a car out there. We got cash, including that $100,000.
I'm so excited.
Come with me.
Much. Oh, I don't.
Oh, you were so far away from getting this.
Although not taking home the extra grand prize, she was still starstruck and thankful to stand alongside longtime host Pat Sajak and Vanna White for his final season.
It truly was the funnest day of my life. And as we were all getting ready, Vanna came in at some point and she just said, "You guys, millions of people all over the world apply to be on this show and you are here." She said, "So just have fun." And I'll never forget that. It stuck with me. So the entire time, it didn't matter how I was doing, I was there just to have fun.
And as you can tell, she definitely had a ton of fun. On top of taking home over $18,000, she also won a Caribbean trip to St. Martin. Reporting live in studio, Lacey Beasley, Fox 10 News.